start at 1.2, we're just going to quickly review the Pythagorean theorem and tangent ratio. So Pythagorean theorem, of course, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b, these are the two legs of a right triangle. Remember, in this case, it has to be a right triangle, so there has to be a 90-degree angle, otherwise this doesn't work. So for this triangle, whoops, it's not even a triangle, but there's no 90-degree angle, that one is not going to work. So we have to actually make sure that there is a right angle when we're dealing with Pythagorean theorem. Those are your two legs, and of course this is the hypotenuse, which is the side that is opposite the right angle. So the two legs make the right angle, and the third side is the hypotenuse. The tangent ratio is the trig ratio that applies to right triangles. Again, it has to have a right angle, it has to have that 90-degree angle, and it's a ratio of the side opposite an acute angle to the side adjacent to the angle. So for example, if this were our angle, so this is tangent of angle A, it's the length of the side opposite, so that's A in this case, over the length of the side adjacent, which is B. So the side opposite A, oh, wrong button. There we go. Whoops. Side opposite A. There's two sides that make up the angle A. There's the side opposite A. So this is opposite. And B here, this is adjacent. Okay, and we can abbreviate it like this. And again, for the above triangle, it would be A over B. So let's look at example 1 now. We're going to use this diagram to calculate the following. First of all, the length of the hypotenuse and the measure of angle A using the tangent ratio. So the length of the hypotenuse of course is the side opposite C, so this is the hypotenuse. So for A, we want A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Well, A, we can call them whatever we want. In this case, normally we would label this triangle as A over here, and this triangle as B over here because A is opposite A. We wouldn't have to. We could add them in either order because, like we know, 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2, but let's just do it this way. So it's 2.5 squared plus 3.9 squared, and we're looking for C squared, or the hypotenuse, so we'll just call this one C here. So remember, 2.5 squared means 2.5 times 2.5. So 2.5 squared is 6.25. And 3.9 squared is 15.21. And that equals C squared. So you can add those two together. So 15.21, 6.25 plus 15.21 would be 21.46, and that's going to be your C squared. Now the problem is we're not looking for C squared, we're looking for just C. So very last thing we do in a Pythagorean theorem question is always take the square root. That was a really messy square root, but it's a square root nonetheless. So we're going to take the square root of 21.46, and we get a whole bunch of numbers, but we're going to one decimal place here, so we're going to give our answer to one decimal place at the end. So it's going to be 4.6. My units is centimeters. So this is the length of the hypotenuse. I'm going to shorten it. The hypotenuse is 4.6 centimeters long. Okay, so that's A. Now looking at B, what's the measure of angle A using the tangent ratio? So we want to know angle A. So the tan of, I'll say the tan of A is equal to, well, it's the opposite over the hypotenuse, or sorry, the opposite over the adjacent, pardon me. Okay, so that's the opposite here. It's right here. And the adjacent, the one that's beside A, is right here. So tan of A is equal to 2.5 over 3.9. And to undo this tan, we have to use the tan inverse. So it's going to be the tan inverse. So it's the tan to the negative 1 of 2.5 over 3.9. Let's just scroll this down a little bit. And again, it depends on how your calculator works. Your calculator, there'll be likely a second function or a shift button you have to use to get tan inverse. You might have to push that first. If you push second function tan, and that pops up on your screen. Then keep going. It may even have a bracket. If it doesn't have an open bracket, you have to push the bracket button next, and then 2.5 divided by 3.9, and your answer is, so angle A is 32.7 degrees. At any rate, if you put that into your calculator, it doesn't show up. What you're going to have to do is 2.5 divided by 3.9. You have to hit the equals button after that. So 2.5 divided by 3.9 equals, then shift or second function tan, and then it should give you that. So make sure you know how your calculator works. Either way, you need to get around that 32.7, 32.6609, etc. That's what your answer should be. So there's the answer to B.